Hi everybody, my name is Kaylani and welcome back. Today we are going to do our January wrap up of all the books that I read. I read 9 books in January. 8 of them were audible and 1 was physical. And I will tell you what I rated them and obviously what they're about and what I liked and what I disliked. So the first book I read was You Can Thank Me Later by Kelly Harms. It's an Audible original novella and it's about a group of characters that get some bad news on one Thanksgiving, and it's how they process that bad news throughout the year. So it follows 3 Thanksgivings, the one where they get the bad news, the one after the bad news, and then the one a couple years in the future. It's a really interesting book about interpersonal relationships between families and friends. And I think my favorite part about it was at the beginning of each section, they had little voicemail snippets from the other characters to the main character. And I really enjoyed that. I think it made it very unique and interesting. It showed a lot of the relationship shifts that they've had over the years. And I gave that one 4 stars because I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that I loved, you know? It was something that I could probably listen to again, but it isn't something I'm just gonna be like, I have to listen to that over and over and over and over and over again. So the second book I read was The Overdue Life of Amy Byler, which is also by Kelly Harms. It's about a woman who gets the chance to kind of like live a different life than the one she's previously been living. She is a mom who has 2 children, both in their teens, and she gets to go away for the summer because her husband comes back after he had left for a while, and her friends kind of get her to do this thing that they're calling a mom springa, which is kind of like she gets to go on her own mom version of a rumspringa, which is where you get to go away from the life you've always known and you get to experience other things. And it kind of follows the same ideas where she got to go live this different life and she has to come back, or she has to decide if she wants to come back. And it's a pretty interesting read. I liked it a lot. It made me connect a little bit more with my mom because my mom is also a single mom, and I enjoyed the way I could see maybe a little bit more through her eyes. I also gave that one a 4 star. Can't remember if I said that. And definitely would recommend. I'm really digging Kelly Harms. I'm reading another book of hers in January, so we will hopefully keep on roll with that. The next book I read was A Constellation of Roses by Miranda Acevedo. Please don't come for me if I pronounce that wrong. I'm really bad with authors' names, or just like names in general. So it is about a girl who has to try to live life without her mom. Her mom just like left her at a hotel, like bye, and she's trying to survive on her own, but she ends up getting picked up by the police, and the police find a different family member for her to go live with, and it's her father's family, which she has never met before. And it's how she learns to connect through her father and also her previous life through these things. And it's got a little bit of a magical twist to it. The magical twist is probably one of the things I didn't like about it, because it was like a weird magical twist that I didn't understand. I was like, I don't know if that was completely necessary. It was a good book in general about like coming of age and finding out where you belong or how you feel like you should belong. The next book I read was Neanderthal Seeks Human, which is about a woman who ends up getting fired from her job and her boyfriend breaks up with her on the same day, and she's just having a real bad day, and then it all gets kind of turned around when she gets escorted out of the building by a security guard, and the security guard and her kind of have this like click, and they keep seeing each other, and he ends up making her life better. He gets her another job, which is better than her last one, and all of these like good things come her way. And then as things get revealed, it ends up being a little bit of a, I guess, like a mixed, well, they call him mixed steamy, so it's a little bit like that. And he's it's just really good. It's just like a good feel good. It's by Penny Reed, and she is my go-to feel good book like person right now. She always has a good read. It's easy. It's just makes you feel good. I gave that one a 4 star. I think I gave the last one a 4 star. I don't think I mentioned that in the clip. A lot of my reads are 4 stars this month. So that's a good thing, right? So the next book I read was Such a Fun Age by Kelly Reid, and it follows two characters, Amira and Alexa, and Amira is Alexa's nanny, and she ends up babysitting her child Briar one night. It's a Friday night, and she had actually been out partying. And then some things happen at Alexa's house, and she has to go and babysit Briar. And then one of the police, well, the mall cop essentially, comes and accuses her of kidnapping the child. Amira is black and Alex is white, and it deals with kind of like the racial things around that and how people feel like they can influence each other, I guess. I did not enjoy Alex's character or any of her friends. I think they were kind of awful people. And then, but I connected with Amira a lot. I really understood a lot of the struggles she was going through, financially and socially. And I think I gave it a 2 stars originally, but I think as I think about it, I think I'm going to move it up to a 3-star. It was a good read. I just could not get over Alex and her friends. They really hurt the read for me, and I know you're not supposed to like them. They're kind of supposed to be unlikable. And they were just like complete unlikable for me. So like I said, I think I'm going to move it to a 3-star, and yeah. So the one book I read this month that was an actual physical book was good old Artemis Fowl. It was the first time I ever read it, and I will not be reading it again. I actually am going to give it a 2-star maybe, because I know that this is not a book for me. I know that I'm not the target audience with this, but they have a movie coming out, I think this summer, and I just kind of wanted to read to see if I wanted to go see the movie. I now know I probably don't want to see the movie. It is about a very smart child who decides he wants to take over kind of the fairy realm, or at least get their money. And it's how he attempts to do that. He kidnaps a fairy and holds her for ransom, and he tries to outsmart them, and they're trying to outsmart her. It's like a tactical novel, and I was just not about it, I guess. I read it pretty quick. It's an easy read. It's a kid's book. But yeah, like I said, I gave it 2 stars just because it wasn't for me. Sorry. So the next one I read was Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know a lot of people enjoy her writing. This is my first book by her, and maybe I'll like other books by her. I don't know if this just wasn't the book for me. I thought it was an interesting concept where a woman makes one decision in one timeline and another decision in another timeline, and how they kind of intersect and don't intersect. The only thing I could think of the whole time I read this book was the movie Sliding Glass Doors. I don't even know if anyone even knows what that movie is. I don't think it got like high reviews. And I think, I don't know, it was interesting. I guess the end was my favorite part because of the way they like explained the story. I don't know if, like I said, I'm going to keep trying Taylor Jenkins Reid because I know people do like hers. I'm reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo this month, and I think I'm going to try One True Loves or something like that as well this month. But we will see if I like those, and maybe it'll change my rating for this one. I did give it 2 stars. I really just, it was rough for me, but I made it through. So my next book I read this month was Dear Edward, which was my 5-star for the month. I loved this book. The perspective of Edward is probably it was also my favorite perspective this month. And I just, like, it's a 12-year-old boy, I believe, when his family is pretty much killed by a plane crash, and he is the sole survivor of this complete plane crash. 187 people, I believe, also like completely died on it. And it's how not only he survives after it, but how they survive. And I think it's really interesting. My favorite part probably about the whole story is you're living his life over the next couple years. You go all the way through his graduation in high school. And during this whole narrative, you're also getting the narrative of the day of the plane crash. The whole flight from the moment they get to the airport till the moment they crash. And I think that being drawn out along with the story is just, it was so good and it was so well written. The person who read it, the person who wrote it was Anne Napolitano, and she had to have done so much research to get through this. And then I read it on Audible, and the person who read it to me, she did such a good job. Like, her voice was so inspiring towards the story, and it was like soothing when it needed to be, and it was real good. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. So the last book I read was The Tuscan Child by, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Rhys Bowen, R-H-Y-S. I don't know. I'm sorry. She writes about a character whose father just died, and how the character starts to learn things about the father's past that she had never known before. Her father was much older when he had her in his life, and none of his past really got talked about, except for that in the war he was shot down in Tuscany, and about how she ventures to Tuscany to find out more information about this and how she's led to these certain things. There's a slight little murder mystery in there. Even though it's not a surprise, it's still a murder mystery. I really enjoyed it. So I rated it 4 stars, and the only reason I didn't like this book is the ending, the last chapter. And it felt rushed and a little bit like of a cop-out. I don't know if I just didn't get the ending I expected, or if I just felt like she just didn't know what to do with the characters at the end, and she was like, well, that's the end. But yeah, the ending is the only thing I didn't like, but the rest of the book I enjoyed, and it was a bit of a surprise. Like, every step of the way you got a little bit more surprise, and none of it was necessarily like 100% predictable, but there was a little bit of a predictability in it. So it obviously is a historical fiction. Like I said, I rated it 4 stars, and I recommend it. Alright, and that is all I have for you today. Please comment if you have anything to say. I definitely want to hear from you. And subscribe if you want to hear from me again. And thanks for stopping by. Can't wait to come in next time. See you guys. Hope you have a great day or night. Bye!